Hello, fellow listeners, tech bugs, sales wizards, and potential employees. Here's a question for you. Have you ever heard of the term Team Enablement? What could it ever mean? Well, safe to say, I have with me today two experts in the field of customer success and sales who will break this down for you. So let's meet Swati, a hands-on, rolls up her sleeves kind of leader. Starting from infrastructure to brands like Uber, she's done it all. And now is the director of Outbound Sales and Strategy, a true LambdaTest powerhouse. And Sudhir, who religiously follows customer success, a techno-functional customer success leader with 15 years of experience and currently leads our customer success at LambdaTest. So guys, something comes to my mind with the term team enablement. Does it mean all hustle and no play, or nurturing the team at a steady pace?
Yeah, I'll take that up, Sudhir. So I'll give you a little bit context, before answering your question, Gayatri, if that is okay. So I joined, LambdaTest, probably been 8-9 months to today. And I come from a heavy service industry and, probably close to 6-7 years of SaaS experience. And when I joined LambdaTest, the first thing that I noticed, everybody is very hands-on from top to bottom, from founders to leaders to mid-level managers. Everybody is very hands-on.
Enablement, it's quite a generic term, right? It may mean different things to different individuals, but by and large, I kind of, align with Swati, where considering we are a deep tech company and we are in a customer facing role, it's a very unique skill. You won't find a lot of tech people who can, represent customer as well, or your organization to the customer. So we ensure that team are equipped with the tools. They have the skills, both tech and soft, to be able to do their job. We ensure that in my team specifically, we have a onboarding plan, a strong onboarding plan that with each session they also have hands-on session, right? So there's a opportunity given to them to kind of shadow people, right? Write code yourself, and understand the pain of your customer. So that's kind of enablement efforts we do, or I do in my team, and align with Swati on, it's kind of a really mammoth task considering we are, a deep tech product.
And you know what, Gayatri, Sudhir, and Sudhir, you would agree with me because I have seen you on multiple occasions, the key to nurturing talent is lead by example. I see you go on customer calls every now and then, be it day, be it night. And I think this is something that's inculcated and sort of embedded across leadership, across, mid-level, senior level, management level, in each and every person I have seen this is embedded, and this is one of the core value that I see in LambdaTest, that we believe in leading by example. We got to be action oriented and show our commitment to their success, to team success, and most importantly, like I said, it's not harmful to have a little fun along the way. After all, the best medicine in the world is laughter, and even in the world of sales, I would say.
Well, our Slack is full
I'm
of
sure
those,
that
right?
is. How has the concept of team enablement evolved through your journey from the time you started to the time you became leaders, the good, the bad, the ugly, the truth? What has that been like?
Yeah, so I would say it's certainly not a bed of roses. There have been a lot of challenges because, like I said, it's a big team. It's a young team, and obviously, of lately we started hiring overseas talent as well. So to kind of make sure we have a very inclusive environment, and a lot of I would say credit goes to founders as well, and it's always top down, and a lot of credit goes to our HR team as well, wherein they try and create this very cohesive and very inclusive culture for each and every one. Make sure that some are sort of quick learner. and they come and they pick up very fast, and some people kind of take their own sweet time. So what kind of KRAs do we have in place, and what kind of ramp up plan do we have in place, what kind of cross culture support do we have? So that becomes very critical, and solving these challenges, it takes its own sweet time, and we learn from our mistake. The fundamental bottom line here is to learn and unlearn quickly, and that's how you match the pace, and that's how you match expectations of the company.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
my version would not be very different than Swati's. Joining probably as a 50th employee 3 years back. The first thing was day one, strategy, planning, fancy talks, good in books, but you really have to start executing. And in order to start executing, you really need to understand the product, right, around which the whole company evolves, to understand that really deep, right? And that helped me build that belief that, yeah, I know this product capability. That also help you understand what do you need to hire people to be able to support that product, right? Support customer on that product. So that was kind of first stage of getting into the company for me. Now, of course, 3 years later, today we have a strong, streamlined process. Lots of learning came from our experience with the product. What Swati said, right? We are all hands-on, right? So when you're hands-on, you know what the pain a solution engineer or a customer success individual goes through in order to help our customer, right? So when you have sense of that, you build best of the plan. Those are not good PPT plans. Those are really good implementation plan. So we have a training plan, which, like I said earlier, which includes both the soft and tech part of it. I mean, when we started 3 years back, most of the people, just like Swati's, were fresher, right? And how do you really get started with fresher with no prior experience of managing a complex tech product, or the community of the testing team or the testers? So by having this approach of hands-on, leading from the front, help you draft the best of the plan for your team. And I think that's how we kind of learn and implement it and seeing good results. And we always go back and kind of retrospect that, is there a room for improvement? That's another unique part about LambdaTest is, there's always a room for improvement, right? So that's a philosophy, that's what we believe in. So that has helped us build a really strong team and the culture.
Right. Absolutely, I actually completely resonate with that. And speaking of room for improvement, do you have any real life examples that you can cite? Of course, we'll hide the identity of the employee, but where the employee your team has taught you, you've taught them. Of course, you learn a lot from your team, right? That's how you become great leaders, right? So, any real time examples?
So, did you want to take that up?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have many, right? But I just pick few, right? How we have few freshers, right? And I think best part of any individual, especially when we are hiring in LambdaTest, there is primarily two part of hiring that we kind of evaluate individual on, right? One is will and the other is skill. I think for us at LambdaTest, we give weightage to will, because that's the most important part, right? If you have zeal to learn, if you have that aptitude, you have attitude towards your, colleague, co-worker, nothing can beat that. And then of course, some weightage to skills as well, being a tech product. So we make sure that, however, this is still an easy part to kind of train people on. So when we were hiring, especially freshers, we looked at what is their, what is their weightage on wills. You can't really evaluate them on the skill. So, however, we also struggled because of this decision, right? Because now the learning curve was longer, right? And you have to go probably start from scratch. So that also helped us realize that you have to maintain a kind of balance, right? So guys were fresher, but of course, before you can train them, you really need to know the product. So I would code for, for them. I would join them on the call, help them understand how to navigate, how to handle difficult conversation. I would do, problem solving, or debugging a tech problem, right? So that's what we did for, from enabling the team. But the best part is how these guys, the team, kind of stepped up, got deep into the product in a short time. So that resilience, that zeal to learn, that way to handle, a fast-paced culture, and growing seamlessly with that, or aligning with that kind of speed, was the best part of these guys, right? So that's where we felt like, no, will still plays a key role, right? If you have the people with the will, right kind of skill set, we can do this, right? So, and I think that's how it worked for us.
Yeah, and like for me, it's no different. So I'll give you some context, in terms of what challenges, and particularly how when we are still learning, it's not that, we've sort of overcame all challenges and now it's all smooth. We are learning every day. I think in those learning, one of the things that really changed the way I deal with the team now is that instead of just solely focusing on the job description to which somebody is hired for, try and prioritize the needs of business and identify what drives that potential candidate, to be successful. So that's one thing. Another important thing, I try to prioritize data over emotions, right? And that's one of the learning that I have had over all the time that I've spent in sales, and especially with young team and the team that I'm managing, 35 people. It's always tried, because there will be personality issues and there will be navigation issues. So we try to objectify and we try to kind of quantify as much as possible. So like I said, prioritizing data over emotions, and also I'm a strong advocate of open communication. And what I mean by that is that it should not be limited to just senior junior kind of conversation, but they should also be able to put their point across without worrying about the consequences. So making sure that your team is able to vocalize what they are going through at certain point in time. For that, we have included, we have a strong continuous feedback mechanism. We have quarterly performance review in place, and the way we have put together. So I remember sitting down with Chandni and identifying what would be the right KRA for outbound sales team, and kind of trying to restructure as time changes, as we are evolving, because it's a constant evolving that's happening with outbound team same. And if you're not adapting, then you'll fall, short. So I think that's what we initially struggled with, but we came to a quick realization that this is what we need to have in place, and this is what we are responsible for it. And then we have to create that culture where team is able to communicate freely, not just within themselves, but with other teams as well. So they are very vocal, and we have a very flat hierarchy. So my team members can walk up to Sudhir, can walk up to Jay, can walk up to Chandni, and share their experience, or maybe, and also it's my responsibility that we are documenting these feedback for everybody's visibility. So I think those are some of the things that we have learned along the way.
What you've told me about, there are a lot of team members who have different personality traits, who work differently. We're also multi-regional, right? And the concept of diversity comes up. And there's a language barrier also with, our employees overseas. So how do you ensure as a lead that that level of empathy is instilled within each and every one who's dealing with their overseas peers, and that you are able to train them effectively, that they can, go and impart great customer service?
So essentially, as the LambdaTest, we have very clear, rules or instruction around what is the right behavior, what is an unacceptable behavior. So that plays a key role in keeping this culture intact. And massive respect for Swati and all our leaders, right? We are all aligned, right? There's no disagreement. not even a slightest of doubt about culture is secondary thing, whatever the task is, right? So it's always the culture and then everything else around it. So that's how serious we are about it. And one quick example that I want to highlight, right, that I personally follow, and that's something I work with, kind of experimented with help of HR, is I take the first round of the candidate, right? So once the basic checks are done of a candidate, I take the first conversation to ensure that none of my team members, including HR, wasting time on someone who's not a culture fit. Right? So that's how serious we are about our culture. Right? I want to save everyone's time. All technical rounds and written rounds which can wait. But if someone is not culture fit, I mean they're not fit for our organization. So that's super important for us.
So, Sudhir, tell me something, and I just have a question here, and I was just thinking about it, the other day. Have you ever, considered conducting cognitive tests? So basically, yours and kind of outbound teams, basically, we are facing prospects and you're facing customers, right? And our team have to they should be equipped in handling high pressure situations, right? So it can be very stressful, and it's important to make sure that whosoever we have in the team should have right temperament and resilience to succeed. Have you ever considered about maybe introducing a round of probably a cognitive test or something?
Great question, and you probably got me into the spot, right? I tried and I failed. Okay, because Swati, you would completely relate with it. Is there's no training or no book can teach you how to handle a difficult conversation unless you really get into it. Right? There's no better book than doing it yourself, right? Or getting into those. So I think we tried. I mean, it did help, but it's not the most effective way to evaluate an individual, especially in our kind of role where empathy level has to be really high, right? And then that has to be complemented with the great tech skills as well of the various type of skills, especially considering different tech stack being used by our end customer. So that's my answer. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. I was just, kind of wanted to have your thoughts on this. Maybe, maybe we need to kind of wrap our head around how do we, because this team that we are building, we are a mid-sized company, right? And
Yeah.
whosoever we have here, we have a long way ahead, right? So we need to be very tightly knit, and we need to have right people, because
Yeah.
we are sort of investing a lot of time. It takes a lot of bandwidth. And
Right.
I'm just wondering, how to figure out the right hiring process, and just kind of thinking out loud here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that. Codifying the whole hiring experience is an aspiration, and that's a way to crack it. I mean, I completely agree with you, and I completely agree that, I mean, as a leader, I can sense that what coming out is it takes a lot on leaders like us to ensure that culture check, is there. Yeah, at some point in time, we will definitely codify, and there's a lot of program running in, with help of HR team. So I hope to be there very soon.
Amazing. And you know what, Gayatri, kind of, this is to you, by the way. And so please feel free to pitch in from my side. So I think one thing that really stood out for me, and the question basically revolves around what kind of specific things you guys have taken into consideration, because you play a very critical role in setting up the culture and kind of hearing different voices. So we use Lattice, right? And I see entire HR team is very kind of there, kind of in making sure that the feedback is being addressed and we are on top of it, and we are resolving any kind of, negative, positive feedback that we get through Lattice, and it's anonymous, of course. So I'm just trying to understand, we have this culture where we don't sit on things, right? So, for example, like
Right.
you rightly said, uh, bad behavior or maybe any sort of erratic behavior, we just don't sit on it and let it go for long, right? We immediately bring it to attention and then we immediately try and fix it. And that's one of the things that I have seen here in LambdaTest versus some of the companies and some of the friends that my friends work with other organizations, that, there is a tendency to sit on things and let it go on and on and on before you take an action, because you have certain fear, or maybe you don't want to get into it and you want to stay away from all that mess and you want to probably focus on actually who is working, let the average or non-performer struggle a bit, or maybe give them some time here and there. But I have seen in this company specifically, there is a lot of attention given to somebody who is derailing.
Yeah.
And I have seen a lot of one-to-one mapping happening, not from the immediate manager, but from the leader as well, to somebody who is slightly drilling. Because I think a lot of effort goes into bringing this person on board, and a lot of responsibility lies on our shoulder as well. But I see HR team taking such keen part into ensuring that we are all equally involved into making that person, making sure that they are successful in their role.
Right.
So what are your thoughts, guys? How do you guys do it?
I think like Sudhir said that the first interview stage, he takes care of without it coming to HR first. I think similarly, the first 90 days is something that we religiously handhold the newbie, right? We meet up with them on the first week, regularly being in touch with them, even kind of sitting on top of their mentors and their buddies' heads that, they have to be inculcated into the culture, right? And again, you spoke about Lattice, the feedback that we take so seriously. Every day, I think it's kind of now ingrained in us that we sit on it half an hour, 45 minutes, read the reviews. If there's anything that's going south, there has to be immediate action taken on it. And we ensure that our pod leaders have also kind of instilled this culture. I think you guys are pod leaders, you understand that if things are going south, you need to address it. Because at the end of the day, it's your team that's going to be affected. And they should also see real-time results, that what they are saying is not going out into the wind. Right? We need... And I see that in a lot of companies, a pulse survey is just a survey. You fill it, it's lost, right? What happened? Where is the action plan? What happened in the next quarter? Did anybody hear me, right? Because I feel my generation wants to be heard. They don't, they take empathy very seriously, right? So I think, I hope that answers your question, because that's what we believe in, at least.
I think, yes, 100%. I think it's making a great impact in the way we are conducting our culture and we are conducting our team. And we are trying to make sure that, nobody is riding on anybody's success.
Correct.
Everybody is contributing. Right? So I think a great way, and I really appreciate all the effort that you guys are also putting in, making sure, having our back and also guiding us into the right direction wherein we need to be there, and where we can just slack off a bit because we know that you are there. So I think it's a great team effort.
Thank you. I will take this as real-time feedback.
100%.
Awesome, great. I think it was amazing talking to you guys, and I've got a lot of inputs and takeaways, because I know customer success and sales work under a lot of pressure. They work in tandem with each other, but it's good to know that we have leaders like you standing behind the team. So great. Thank you for joining us today, and let's wrap this episode up. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.